Welcome to Highlighting the Journey, where we dive deep into the stories that shape us. From real estate moguls to innovators, entrepreneurs, from life-changing pivots through breakthrough moments, we're here to uncover the paths that lead to success and the obstacles that build character and the insights that inspire action. And I'm your host, Dan the Podcast Man. Today, we're highlighting another incredible journey. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Highlighting the Journey with Dan the Podcast Man. Today, I got two individuals. Well, they're family. It is the Wagners.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for having us.
I appreciate you letting us on the podcast today.
Absolutely. Let's give a little intro on you.
Yeah, my name's Ben Wagner. I'm one of the owners with my father here of Leave the Key Home Buyers. We're a real estate investment company in Long Island. And that's... you
Sounds simple enough, doesn't it?
Yeah, we got a lot going on. But
I'm Larry Wagner. People think sometimes I'm Ben's son, but I'm really his father. They really can't tell the difference sometimes.
Oh, my God.
But it happens. It's the hair thing, I think. So...
Oh, wow. You want to start the podcast like this,
right.
digging at your son right away.
but Ben came to work for my partner and me,
six and a half
years ago, and became my partner.
It was love at first sight?
And then he became my partner.
What it was is that there were so many opportunities in their business that they had a fix and flip business, had flipped hundreds of homes, and were buying from realtors, we're buying from wholesalers. And my background was in tech and marketing. And I'm like, why are you guys you don't even have a website. You're not doing any marketing.
Have a website?
So there were a lot of opportunities. And so just on the side, I built a website and I started encouraging them to kind of go down this direct-to-seller path. And eventually I left my career and moved into real estate, and we jumped in.
What I love about this, I didn't even prompt you guys, by the way. I was going to ask you, I want to hear the backstory. You just started filling in the stuff. This podcast is just going to run itself.
What's interesting is Ben was doing a lot of work for us from home, just, helping out. And then I said, why don't you come work for Jamel and me? And he said, you would like debating back and forth. He comes from a tech startup background. We're like a...
he looks techie, right?
He looks techie. We're like an 8-year-old tech startup, an anti-tech startup, I should say.
The first time I saw him in the RIA meeting, I just see him on camera and just these big headphones. I'm like, he knows computers.
Right, the headphones,
he knows computers.
The rest of us have little earbuds or little wired earbuds or something.
Some of them, I haven't seen him in a while, but someone has got the wired
right.
mic. Oh, man, that was the thing back in the day. Especially they came out with one that was like a plastic clear tube one. I was like, it was like $100 for this little crappy little
thing. We used to
thing.
have that back when I was a financial advisor. I was on the phone all day then. Yeah. But I don't know about the clear plastic, but had the tube thing going on. But when Ben came to work for doing the work from Boston, where he lived and owns a home, I then said, come work for us. And you said, I'll do that remotely. I said, you can't work remotely. That's not possible. And you insisted you could. I said, you can. If you want to come work for us, you got to leave Boston and come to New York, which you did. And then a couple years later, whatever, year and a half later, COVID hit, and everybody was remote.
And we shut down our office, and
we still own the building. But
he knew what was ultimately happening, by the way.
It's very interesting. I think he did.
He did.
Because in January...
You look at him.
In January, the year of COVID, we all had our own computers. Some were on Macs, some were on PCs. He got everyone identical laptops. Everything was simple. You made everything paperless. And then a few months later, suddenly we're remote. And suddenly a paperless universe really was important to us.
How fast was that transition? Like, what was the time span from traditionally how you've been formalized your business to where Ben stepped in, the second Ben stepped through the door? Like, how long, like, what was the process in that?
It was...
I mean, we changed very quickly, but the luxury that I'll say I had coming in and kind of starting almost a new direct-to-seller business inside of this other real estate business. When I talk to a lot of other investors, they're starting direct-to-seller from scratch. So it's, you have to come up with a budget out of nothing, and you have to make this whole thing work.
Yeah.
And we had the luxury of having a runway and kind of a smooth transition because we had an existing profitable business, and we can
good way
kind
to
of
start.
Yeah,
It's a good way to start.
start this new thing. So we jumped right into a top tier mastermind, and within a few months of me joining, and we really hit the ground running, spending tens of thousands of dollars a month in marketing right away.
So let me ask you this, and here comes a good question, Mr. Wagner.
Which one?
The real father.
Yeah. When Ben joined,
Yeah.
did you see double, triple X? Did you see this big jump or no?
What I saw is I didn't have to pay attention anymore.
So okay, you talking about something
Yeah.
so priceless.
It was huge. I was able to focus on the business space got divided into two halves. It was the real estate half, which used to be the whole, and then the everything else half. So I say Ben is the CEO, the CFO, the CMO, the CTO, everything with the C-level title would be Ben. He runs the business. He deals with employees. He deals with finance, deals with payroll, deals with marketing, deals with lead management. Once it crosses lead management over to acquisitions, that's my side of the business, acquisitions, construction, and dispositions. So the whole business was acquisitions, construction, dispositions. So you created a whole half of the business that just didn't exist. You think about it. It was just Jamel, me, and we had one employee. So it was very different.
I'm sorry. I really want to ask this question. I think
ahead.
it's a very good question.
I accept your apology.
It's good. You should.
there you go.
When people say sorry, I'm like, good. Good. You should be sorry.
I'm nicer than you, apparently.
Yeah. How does it feel as a father knowing that what you have created and now your son stepped into this role and made this whole other business, and now it's just a completely different company? And like, I'm curious as a father, how do you feel about all this?
I'll take a step back before I answer your question.
Sure.
And I joined my father in his business. I sold my first business. I owned a custom cabinet shop. I built one of the largest custom shops on the island when I was in my 20s, back in the 1980s. And I had 28 employees when I was 28 years old. Wow. And I was very proud of that. And my partner was the same age as me. I ended up selling the business when I was 32. I joined my father, who had a partner. And shortly after I joined my father, his partner quit and then just walked away. There was an issue with the business. And my father and I became partners, and I was 32 and he was 62. Moved the clock forward. I worked with my father at the time he passed it. 30 years later, he didn't retire, like I don't plan on retiring.
Yeah, I don't see that.
And no, it's not happening.
No.
God forbid. So I say God's going to retire me is what I say. And
oh, God.
I get Ben to join me in the business side with my partner. One day my partner leaves, and Ben and I became partners, and Ben was 32 and I was 62. Wow. How's that history repeating itself? So I came from a different industry to go into financial advisory, actually into insurance business, which I changed to financial advisory. And Ben came from tech to go into real estate.
That is so incredible.
So if Ben and I could work together for the next 30 years, it would be awesome because the history repeat itself in 100%. But I know my father was so thrilled to have me work with him. He loved showcasing what I could do, and I get to do the same with Ben, except I can't showcase the clients because you never have to talk to people like you and go on podcasts.
Oh, 100%. This is the whole point. I relate to all of it. It's so remarkable when I hear a story like this, especially you two guys, because I have the same relationship with my father. I have the same exact. You met my father from Sicily. My grandfather was also a master carpenter when he grew up in Sicily making furniture. If you ever would go to our house in Sicily, you didn't see it though when you came to Sicily, and we'll talk about that. But in our actual home, all the furniture is still built by my grandfather, and it's quite incredible. So my dad, when he came to the United States, he had no work, he had nothing in his pocket. But my grandfather, when he got here, he would come and visit. In our basement, they were building cabinets, and that was their side business. And then like, you could see the transition of like my father and my grandfather working together, building this house in real estate. My father, Italians, I'm just saying, us, we love homes. We love, it's a very powerful thing to us. And if you go to Italy, you would have an apartment building. We have an apartment building
that is designed and meant for first floor is for the parents, second floor is for your kids, and then everything stays within there, and everybody has their privacy, and that's how a lot of these houses in Italy are built. So it's so cool to hear that story you just told me, because now that's what happened to me. How I got into real estate, I started when I was 6 years old, sweeping up the floors for my dad's remodels with my grandfather as well. We have there's videos of 3 generations, and you can hear my dad talking to my grandfather in Italian, and I just have a measuring stick, and I'm just like, and they're like, and it's so remarkable when I didn't even realize that what was happening when I got into real estate, that I'm falling into
Following the footsteps.
Yeah. And and I know my father, I know he's beyond proud. And it was so funny when I got the first deal a few years ago, my father lit up like a Christmas tree, because he didn't touch real estate for almost like a decade. He bought a few houses and a rental, and then we started investing in other stuff. And then when I bought the first house, my dad goes, it's like, he's 65 years old, and at the time he was 60, about 60, 62. But it was like a new rejuvenation. The guy couldn't sleep at night. He would just like 3 a.m. I get text messages. We're gonna do this to the bathroom. I'm like, are you okay? What is happening here? But this type of relationship, what I see between you guys, oh man, it really hits home, and I love it. I love it. But let's get some Larry background more. I'm gonna dive a little bit into you. How did this all unfold? How did Leave the Key start?
Well, I got involved in real estate by happenstance. I mentioned I was in the financial advisory business, and I joined my father. He was an insurance salesman, very successful. And I joined him, but I didn't like the idea of selling insurance. So I decided, let's bring this into a full financial advisory business. He handled the insurance, I handled the investments, and that grew and grew.
Same thing.
Exactly.
Split off right there.
We brought different skill sets. We both were good with the clients, but we brought different skill sets and interests to the business. And we had a great time for 30 years. It was wonderful. And so my secretary said to me, there's somebody I think you would like, I think you get along with. And so could I set up a meeting for it? So this guy comes to my office. And
just ask a question. Sorry, Larry. And I'm not sorry. What year was this? I want to kind of build a little bit of a timeline.
Is
17 years ago,
It
probably?
was 17 years ago. It was more than 17 years. We bought our first house 17 years ago.
Okay.
So 17 years and a few months ago.
Okay.
Okay. So you could do the math. So she brings Jamel to the office. Jamel is he's black. He's Christian. He's from the South Shore. His parents were separated. Didn't really have a relationship with his father. Mother died when he was young. Raised by his grandparents. Raised with no money. In Suffolk County, I'm a white Jewish guy on the North Shore.
Really?
You couldn't tell? Yeah, on the North Shore in Nassau County with 2 parents raised upper middle class.
Yeah.
Like our lives couldn't have been any different. But in the first 3 minutes, we shared the same core values.
How incredible.
And we just hit it off at the time. And so let's start doing business together. And we did. That's how I got involved in the business. It was just from this one meeting, and I started funding the deals. And then we started moving along. What's interesting is we bought a house. We met, I don't know, maybe January, February. We bought a house in May. And then our next purchase, my next piece of real estate, other than my primary residence, was a 27-unit apartment building. That was my second purchase. So
was this in Connecticut?
That was in Connecticut.
Yeah, I was in Connecticut.
So when I go deep. I don't pull back.
That's really deep.
Yeah, so one house to flip. We didn't even sell it yet. And bought a second property, it's 27
Oh my
units.
God. So how did you fund it?
So I refinanced my house.
To buy
Yes, I
an
just
apartment
seen it to you on
building?
the way here.
Also, at the time, apartments were a lot less expensive
Please
in
clarify.
Connecticut
Help
than
me
they
out
are
here.
now.
I live in a $12 million. No.
Oh my God.
The apartment building we're paying, I think we paid, it was 27 units, we paid $20,000 or less. We paid $470,000.
So it's the price of a house.
$430,000 for 27 units. And it was different times.
Which now those units are going for
110.
6 figures.
There's this funny picture online, a meme. It's like a kid playing on a playground. They're playing whatever on a school ground, and like the caption, or the kid's just like whatever, standing in the photo, and the photo's caption, I should have bought real estate now when I was when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I should have just been buying these houses. It's like it's just showing like at what age were me and Ben were just like.
My problem is not buying. My problem is I sold them. That's my problem.
Why'd you sell them?
What'd be something? We had a bad experience. We had a first property manager who was a thief. A second property manager was incompetent. So we decided, my life has been very charmed, and this is a perfect example of being very charmed. It sounds like a bad story, but the next part is the charm part. Jamel and I are sitting down having a discussion. What are we going to do? This property manager is terrible. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's incompetent. We said we have to start our own property management company, but who could run it? And then we get a call. During this conversation, we get a call. The call is from the woman who used to work for a property manager who said, I just found out that, I'm not going to mention names, that your property manager, your ex-property manager, is stealing from all the clients, and I immediately quit. She was in one location, he was in another location, and business wasn't so good, so he combined the two locations, and so she heard him and now knew what was going on. Being remote, she didn't know all the corrupt stuff he was doing. So I felt good, wanted to bring her in with us. She goes, you know, when who's looking for a property manager? We said, as a matter of fact, we're talking about a property manager. So we started our own property management company and said, we'll give you 40, we give it either 40 or 60% of the profit. We didn't start a property management company to make money. So we could run our properties. At that point, we had now 5 buildings. And we want to run the buildings.
You just go. We
just kept going.
You're just all in.
I'm always all in.
And it sounds like you got this wonderful trait. You know how to take one thing and another thing and just put them together. And it's just quite remarkable.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes
it works.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing, Ben? Why?
It doesn't always work.
Doesn't always work.
Well, can you want to tell a bad story or no? I just want to leave it alone.
We tend to do better when we do stuff ourselves, I think, is what we've been learning in the last 2-3 years. We've gotten involved with deals with other people, partnering, lending, JVing, different types of arrangements where we're not in control. And those tend to be the deals that go south.
That's because we're so wonderful and do it ourselves. That's why.
Yeah.
So, but I think maybe our judge of character is not all that good. Somebody we loaned a lot. We loaned my daughter's money to. You loaned my daughter's money too. I'll say somebody you met through networking. And I started looking at the reviews just yesterday. 3 years ago, the reviews were 5-star, 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 5-star. And that's when we loaned them all this money. And after that, it was 1-star, 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 1-star. I loaned them money. They're deadbeats of this. And every single, it was like right after we started doing business with them, something happened. Maybe meeting us, I don't know. But something happened and their lives fell apart along with my daughter's money. But next week, we may collect it back. But 2 years late, but we may get it back. But yeah, when we do our own deals, we do better. We definitely do better. But that's the issue. Do we hire outside? We're looking to buy new multifamilies, like 20 to 60, 20, 80 unit buildings. And
right now?
That's what we're looking to do.
Yep, out of state.
Not in New York. We've been there, done with Connecticut. It's not that different.
A little pricey.
A little pricey. No, we're looking in the places that we typically don't visit.
Less expensive places and places that are more favorable to landlords than New York, which is basically everywhere except California.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
we might be fighting for that top position.
Right. New York, the whole Northeast is really not great in general. You want the red states where landlords are actually allowed to own their own property.
Yeah, you mentioned just for the audience is that you don't really have rental properties anymore, right?
Just a few.
Yeah, we're down to a couple.
Yeah. So now you're trying to get back into that market.
Smarter.
Yeah, I mean, I recently when I was evaluating my structure and my business plan, and I was telling my Carl, my coach, I want to start flipping. He's like, well, do you have enough capital right now to buy a rental property? I'm like, yeah. Why waste your time flipping? Do you need to make the money? I'm like, no, I got a W-2 that pays me out wonderful. He's like, don't mess the secret formula up because that's what
Right.
And now I just really honed in on just keep buying rental properties. Like that is my expertise. I've been nailing it. I just been lining up the deal, and it's quite remarkable. And not trying to dive into something. Like I know it because ultimately I flipped the house.
Right.
I always flip the house essentially, but I just keep it.
Right.
Right.
I keep it and then I refinance and I get the money back. And, I don't need to tell
So
them.
they're all local houses you're buying to rent.
Yeah. I'd like to buy single family, one
Right.
family right now. See, my father, he bought a few in Copeg, multifamily, and we split them up, make them really, really nice. But yeah, I've been around real estate for forever in that aspect. And yeah, it's just funny, the whole partnership thing and teaming up with people. It is so incredibly tough. It's just, you two know what you need. You know your weaknesses. You know your strengths. You know where you're going to hone in on. You know where you're going to hone in on this. And it's just, it's very, very difficult. So this new acquisition, like, how do you strategize for something like that? How do you figure out the market, the area? What are the things? So now some simple questions. What are the items that you are trying to check off and knowing that this is going to be a successful investment?
Knowing is a different word, but anticipating. Let's use that word. Let's be more realistic.
Not rolling the dice.
Big, not rolling the dice. It's fun. One comment before we go to there. I don't let you answer that question. I comment how we'll buy $1 million house sight unseen, and I won't bat an eye. Like a house in Brooklyn we bought for $1.1 million, hadn't seen it, went to contract.
Incredible.
But asked me to put $20 on a blackjack hand in Atlantic City. Forget about it. There's no way. That's too much of a risk. So it's all, somehow we feel it's a calculated gamble. So when you say that we know we're going to do well in a multifamily, whatever word you used, I'm still not that arrogant yet, not yet. But when it comes to how we hone in, I'll leave that to you.
And the nice thing on that point about real estate is it's not going to go to zero, unlike that blackjack hand, right?
What goes
it's
to
double
zero?
or nothing,
Right.
But the real estate, if you lose something, and we use a lot of our own capital in the business, so it's not like we're super leveraged or something like that, where if the property goes down 10% or 20%, and for other people, if that's a syndication or if they're using borrowed money, that could be the end of them, right?
Of course,
and,
yeah, 100%.
And for us, it sucks, but we can bounce back.
Just wait.
Or you could wait it out.
Well, that's the beauty behind what it is too. It's like, ultimately, if stuff does go south, I know I can bounce back. And that's the one thing I noticed when I started coaching with Carl, was that when I started back in 2000 with Carl, 2021, I was like, where am I going to find this house, and how am I going to put this money down? And my father always just knew the 1% rule.
Right.
That was just what he knew, and he stuck by it. And he only bought houses outright.
Right.
Never used a mortgage ever. And then Carl, basically, he didn't teach me how to. Well, he did teach me how to find a good deal. But ultimately, what he taught me was how to build a business.
Right. Yeah.
How do you build a business? And that was just like what I utilize today for even my W-2 now. I'm in this new job role where I'm a self-starter. So I know what needs to be done already. I get into the company, I see, okay, you need these items, take care of this, that. And it's so incredible of the educational behind it, instead of just like, somebody's like, well, they come to me like, I need to buy a house. Where do I go? What do I buy? I'm like, what do you want?
Right.
What do you want? So, oh man.
Which, going back to your question about multifamily and where do we look, I mean, we had some of that shock or surprise when we start thinking about it. Like, we know we don't want New York. We know we don't want California.
Is there like a big map if I just go?
Then, there's too many choices. You have the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Right.
Or world, right?
World.
There's a large, Long Island, as big as it is, it's a pretty narrow scope. But even you're probably not looking at properties all over Long Island. You're looking in.
I'm hyper-focused.
So you're not buying a great neck for a rental, right?
Oh, is that a bad deal?
Probably not a good deal for rental. Maybe a good
tough
flip.
to hit
not a good-
1%.
Right.
Over
Tough
there.
to get 1%.
No, but of course, yeah. I'm really out of the Nassau County area. I'm really in the
Right.
Suffolk County
and
area.
even Suffolk County, there's limited areas in Suffolk County. The property taxes have to be low enough, which
course.
limits you to just a very few parts of Suffolk County. So, and everyone's going after the same markets to buy rentals. So just before you get to his question, we had 24, well, it was before you, I guess.
So you did it, no we.
But this is pre-we. We had 24 I had 24 rentals on Long Island. When we sold the properties in Connecticut, I then bought 24 single-family rentals on the island. I then sold the 24 single-family rentals on the island because my partner and I split, and when Ben became my partner. And of course, they went up in value a lot, as we know, in the last number of years. So again, kicking myself one more time. So now we're going to do it a third time, but this time hopefully not sell. And it's for Ben and his sister ultimately. So I don't need the rentals. It's really for these guys. So, but I was going to bring up a point. Oh, so I was going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Buying rentals, being that you're a flipper, you know how to flip and you know how to buy rentals. The problem we have buying rentals on Long Island is there's a good amount of money to make on the flip right up front. It'll take so many years to make that money in a rental that it's hard to sit there and say, I'll wait to make that $50,000 you'd make on the flip at $200 a month, whatever it is per rental. So just flip it and be done with it. And that's why we have so few flips. So few rentals, at this point.
I could totally see that. Of course, like even one of the last houses I did was, I forced equity like 80 grand,
Right.
80 grand and it's just like, if I sold it right in my pocket, like,
Right.
But the other thing too is, so you're talking about these flips, capital gains.
Right.
I don't know. The thing I like about the rental is it builds I feel secure.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the nest egg. I like the idea that this is how much I'm worth. I have this amount of money in here, and it's generating money. Maybe not a lot of money, because let me be honest, some of these properties are not,
Right.
My investment criteria, and I'll be public about it, is very, very simple when it comes to rental. I want to make at least $50,000 in equity on the property when I remodel it, and I want to make at least $500 a month on the property. For me, I think that's for me an okay investment. It's not the greatest, but I think it does the job. And just you just said this market with the house, it is absolutely insane where this market went.
Yeah.
They just reappraised my house. I'm like, no way. I'm in Massapequa. I'm like, no way. And I bought my house.
Crazy.
I bought my house in 2016 in Massapequa and everybo's gonna hate me when I say this number. Should I say the number? I'll say it because I'd like to be.
You like it,
It's fine. It's fine. It's just public records if somebody's stalking me. It's $360,000.
You can
And I
probably
bought
buy
a
a lot now for 360.
Yeah.
You can't buy a lot for 360.
And my mortgage is 3%.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Yeah.
I
So
never
I'm
knew
like,
those.
but I hear these numbers, and I ultimately now, I feel so worried for the kids in the future of this country. I'm for making money and make business is business. But when I look at this, and I heard recently, what is the national average for the average person without help from their parents or whoever? Because luckily I was fortunate enough to get help from my father to do my first house and multiple houses. I'm very fortunate. And I had to pay him back. But I think it was like the age of 36.
For a first-time home buyer?
Yeah.
Yeah. And more importantly, the multiple of income used to be like double income, 1.5 or 2 times income to buy a house. So if your income was $20,000 back when your house cost $40,000, now it's 5 times. So that's the problem. It's unaffordable.
The domino effect that has occurred too, this is such a bad thing that has happened, what is going on, and I really hope there's some I don't know if there will be a correction, who knows. I'm on the side of wanting it fixed, because I just hear these families that both mother and father have to work.
Right.
And I don't believe in that. I don't. I grew up in an Italian household, and my wife is Sicilian too. Her family, she's second generation. I'm first generation. So we have very similar core values. And my wife wants to be home. I want my kids to be raised by her. But I know people and friends and family, they can't do that.
Oh, no. Most.
And it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart when I hear that they're forced to put the kid in daycare, and then the daycare literally costs half their salary.
Right. Yep.
Or sometimes, like, my wife said, if I go back to work, that's how much the daycare is going to go, of course. Yeah, don't go to work.
Yeah.
We'll just be super, super conservative. And that's how we were able to kind of propel things. We've been so conservative on so many parts. And I learned that from my father, and how to, so it's funny, and I mention this a lot on the podcast, and maybe I haven't, but my kitchen in my personal house is the original kitchen from she yells at me. It's like from the 1950s. All we did was repaint it.
Right.
We did the floors ourselves. Obviously, we spent a little money doing electrical service, plumbing. What are you gonna do? You gotta get rid of that cast iron.
But then ultimately, it's like I took the money I would have spent on my personal house and I invested in it. Like, and we lived. I knew ultimately that this is what's going to propel us and what's going to get us to that next level. But some people are just trying to live their lives.
Right.
Right. You mentioned your original kitchen. My wife and I got married 40 years ago, and we had nothing. My company owed me $14,000, and she had $14,000 in college and auto debt and car debt. So we had no money in the bank. We had zero net worth. And when we go out, we considered that next year we bought a house because we lived on austerity. We rented a crappy basement apartment for $400 a month.
Was this in Long Island?
It was Long Island. Yeah, never lived more than 10 minutes from where I grew up in Syosset.
Everybody loves the house hacking model.
Right.
Like,
No, didn't house hack.
no, I'm saying is that you're living in somebody else's apartment.
someone else's
That
apartment.
person's house. That term is obviously it's been so
Wasn't
utilized.
invented back then, the term.
But that's what everybody did. Even
Yes.
my house, I did it for my personal house. I rented my upstairs. And then when I was a kid, me and my two brothers lived in one room in a Cape, and the upstairs was rented. Everybody did it in Long Island. You have to do it.
You have to. It's too expensive. Well, they built the apartment for their daughter, but the daughter knew her parents were maniacs, so she never moved in. So it was an apartment built that was never used before, so we were the original tenants in that apartment. But anyway, so we lived there for 1 year, couldn't stand it, so we bought a house. After 1 year, the house in Plainview was $134,000 in
Not bad, right?
1985. So we ended up selling years later for $165 after renovating the whole house. So the market had gone up and then gone down. We sold the bottom
What
of the
year
market.
was that roughly?
We sold
92?
92 when Hannah was born. Yeah, we sold in 92. So the market was still down, and the which was good because we bought a house for twice the price. So that house was down too. So the drop was double the drop. You sell a cheap house, it drops by 10%. It's a small drop. Buy a house twice the price, drops by 10%. That's double the drop. So I was trying to explain to my wife that if our house went down $30,000 in value, the house we bought went down $60,000 in value. So we're still way ahead of the game, buying at a low point in the market. But Mom didn't agree. She just said, "But our house went down $30,000." So putting that aside, there was a point to the story. And I went off track there.
Lovely.
And she's a math teacher.
So talking about
You want to realign them?
no, so you're talking about your original kitchen. So
Yeah, the
we're
original
living on
kitchen.
austerity. So then we buy the house. We're living on austerity still because we don't have a house. We don't have any money. And my wife is a stay-at-home mom. And shortly after that, she was a stay-at-home mom. And we went out to dinner once a week on Wednesday. When Mama Teresa had eggplant parm for $3.75. And going out to eat was going across the street to buy it and bring it home. Because we didn't want to have to tip, because we had no money, and we just eat at a kitchen table, and that was our way to treat ourselves.
He's standing up too.
We could be standing up too. So it wasn't a sub; it was a dinner. Yeah. So anyway, but
I hope there was some romance there.
that's
Just
it.
like,
But that was it. That was.
but that's the lifestyle you live.
That's
Yes.
how we lived. So we could raise a family, have money, and do what we had to do.
So there's some great points and observations, and what I've learned doing all this is that people want to live already the lifestyle. They want the $1.5 million home. They need the BMW in the car, the driveway. And I look at my father. My father's God bless him. He's very well off. And he drives a 1995 CRV.
Right.
And it's beating the hell, and it works. Somebody legitimately stole his catalytic converter one night. I heard it because I actually live the house I bought isn't next to my parents. And then we bought the house behind my parents for my brother. We're like a nice little compound.
There you
But we heard somebody steal the catalytic converter, and then, oh my God, it was so loud. All Massapequa would hear it. It was hysterical sound. It didn't, let's say it was a funny sound that was coming out of it. I'm not going to use the term. But my dad went to the shop, put a new converter in there, and then he went, because he's in construction, he went there and got vertical cables that we install for lifelines. He went under the car and strapped this whole thing. And it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there. And my father goes, what do I need?
Right.
I ask people, what do you ultimately need? And you gotta align yourself with that. And probably those Wednesday night dinners were probably the best dinners. Just sitting down with your wife and just having that time together, and then appreciating that time. And I look at my wife, and we're so grateful, so thankful, and especially in the beginning part of we were so I want to be clear, we were redlining. Everything was on the line at so I look at my bank account, I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna make it? And thank God we came out ahead. But But it's those things where we're just like, let me take a step back and what's in front of me. I got my wife. I have a house. I should be happy. I am happy, but
But you want more. But I drive minivans.
no, it's
for
not
10
about
years.
more. I don't like, the answer is yes and no. What I like is creating. What I like is advancing. I don't want to sit still.
Right.
I have no interest of being mediocre.
Right.
All right. Not to say if you want to live that lifestyle, by all means. Like I know people in my families, they're perfectly happy working their W-2 and they're going to keep doing that. Me, I want to shoot a podcast. I want to do other things in my life. What's going to propel me? Also, on top of that, I'm building a legacy, just like my father did. My father said this, and he did it. We have 3 houses in Copeg, all right? And they're locked up. They will never be touched. And my father, he bought them outright. And guess what? Each one of those houses go to me, my brother, and my other brother. That was his mission and his goal. Now, my mission now is the same thing for my kids. I have to do better than my father, and then my kids have to do better than me. So that's the mentality I want to instill in my children. The other big component about all this too, and I explained it on another podcast, was making sure my kids understand the value of a dollar, not knowing what I actually have. Okay. Oh, man, he has that. No, you got to understand how money is, how you make money. There's a transfer. There's services. If I just hand them stuff, you know, it's not going to work. They're just going to be like, oh, okay, thank you, bye.
You said something I want to.
Yeah, you can ask me.
You
want to interview me?
I want to respond to.
Yeah.
You said your parents wanted you to do better than them. You worked hard to leave you something. You want your kids to do better than you. And I have mixed feelings about that comment. We all want our kids to do better than us. But when I bought the house in Plainview, it was a little nothing ranch house, one house off a major road, but it's what we could afford. I was making $200 a week at the time working for myself. So put things in perspective, which was, by the way, was a starting teacher's salary at the time. So to put things also in perspective, 10 grand a year.
Not bad.
My father didn't want me to buy that house. He said, I'll give you money to buy a nicer house. You deserve a nicer house. I only deserve the house I could afford. And people think they deserve the nicer cars, you were saying before.
Yes.
You don't deserve anything unless you've earned it. I'm a hardcore kind of guy when it comes to that stuff. And so my father wanted me to better than him, but he was willing to give it to me. And that I didn't want to take, because that to me is a bad thing. So giving your kids a leg up, giving you guys a leg up, giving you a head start in life, that's you've had the good fortune of having that. Having a father who wanted to bring you into the business, and then you ended up bringing your father into your business ultimately. It was it's going to be.
Wow, the tables have turned.
The tables will do this. So, but you have to be careful in how you want your kids to have a better life than you. They should have a better life than you because they've earned it, not because you've given it to them. And I just want to make that very clear.
No, it's very, very good that you clarified that. And I definitely will be listening to that advice. And yeah, my kids are not going to get anything in that aspect.
Right.
When I started in real estate, I went to my father. I'm like, I want to buy a house. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like, you can't. What? You can't do it. He literally shamed me. He shamed me. He's like, and not like shame. He looked at me and he knew I had no skills. Like, I don't want to say no skills. I never done it before. Let me say it that way. I never done it before. And my father's just done it. He was a handyman. He was a laborer. He's just been in it, and for 40 years. But he looks at me, his son, that just does construction, health and safety. Like, oh yeah, I walk the job site, but I observe and see how things are being done. But he looks at me, he's like, but you can't do it. And I'm like, okay. So what ultimately was started to happen, this was like the beginning portions of it, and my father wouldn't give me anything. He wouldn't give me nothing. I had to prove to him I knew what a good deal looks like. I had to prove to him, I had to show him how the numbers are working. Right. I was showing him, like, check this house out. This is a bad deal. This is a good deal. And then at one point, I found the house. I found my first deal. And there was only one way to buy it, and it was cash. And I did not have the cash. Right. Yeah, I had probably in my HELOC, I had like maybe $100,000, and that didn't cover. That wasn't enough. That every house at the time in 2022, 23 was sold, and it still is today. It really is. It's cash. Cash is king. So I went to my father. I'm like, this is the house. He looks over. He's like, you want to do it this way? And you want to do Section 8? And it took so much convincing. My dad's like, all right, I'll give you the loan. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you 5%. Thank you. So he gave me the loan at 5%. He treated it as a traditional loan. Yes, he gave me a nice little soft on the interest, but it ultimately, without his assistance, I would not able to propel my business where it is today with zero.
Right.
I mean, what I am at today would have taken me about 10 more years, probably 10 more years. But he knew I put, and it took me 3 years. I tell people all the time, 3 years until I was able to convince this man that's been doing real estate and flipping homes and knows the ins and outs, and that we have worked on all these properties to convince him, hey, take a shot with this one.
Right.
Yep.
And it was earned.
And you earned it, and he didn't give it to, even after you earned it, he didn't give it to you. He
No, he didn't give
loaned
it to me.
He
you.
made you
He
pay
loaned
for
it.
it.
Right.
Same thing when he bought my when I bought my house. He's like, I'll give you the down payment just so we were able to get the house. But you're gonna pay me back.
Right.
And I didn't even live in the house. I rented it right out. I said, I can't afford to live here. Just stick tenants in here. And that's what I did for. And then, but he saw that I had the wheel going.
Right.
And and my father now, it's like he's all in on me now.
Right. Right.
And
Never
it's
do
just
anything.
he's all in on me. And
You earned it.
Yeah, I did. And it was I think it was like last year when I had that phone conversation on the phone with him where he really like said the words of like, you basically not to like prove him wrong. No, like you did it.
Right.
You proved me. Yes, I did prove him wrong. I
Right.
proved him that I can do it. And I was dead serious about it.
That question, did he say you couldn't do it? Because if he said you couldn't do it, you'd prove that he was wrong? Or did he really believe you couldn't do it?
He believed I couldn't. He really
Oh,
believed
okay.
I couldn't do it.
Okay. It wasn't
He
a reverse
really-
psychology kind of thing.
Yeah, well, listen. He traditionally, the way my father was raised is he's an Italian.
Yeah.
And and within the recent like decade, my father really honed in and became this incredible. My father had an incredible transformation from that old personality, stingy and grumpy and this. But then my father was very blessed with this wonderful life because he started his real estate investments were taken off. We had other investments that we invested in gyms out in California. My dad was doing wonderful, and then it started to kind of like he started to see this different light on things. And my dad, not to say his core values as a family man person was all there,
Right.
but he was just more. But now he's just all in, big hugs, and I got to this point, and I think for him too, I say this to him all the time. If you were my age right now with the information I have, because you know, Ben, that we live in this crazy technology era where information is just given to us.
Yes.
If my father had the same information that I have, and my dad is 34 years old, he would have crushed it.
Right.
He would have he would have quadrupled whatever, maybe
than that.
more.
Yeah.
So he's watching from his eyes. This is my son. This is my blood. And I hone in on him. And now I'm watching what I did for him, what I, as a parent, guided him. Now I'm watching, through my eyes, I'm watching him do what he would want.
Right.
So he's just like in awe. It's just so cool.
I'm listening to you, and it's so funny. I always say how Jews and Italians have the same grandmother, right? Well, we have very different fathers.
You know who Sebastian Maniscalco is?
Yeah.
You know who he is. You got throw
tell
on
me.
his,
Yeah,
you got
show you
to
some
watch on his
videos.
comedy special.
Yeah.
So he's a very funny Sicilian comedian. He actually married, his wife's Jewish. So
really?
It's right up your alley.
Right.
They basically said that, Jewish people, they got breakfast down, but then it falls apart after that. They don't know what happened. But in this one skit that Sebastian Maniscalco goes, he's like, Italians and Jews, we work for the same business, different departments. It's just like, I was like, oh my God, it's just so funny. And so you gotta turn your father on. Sebastian Maniscalco, yeah.
There you go.
Ben, I want to hone in on a little bit about you, man. I want to know a little bit about your background. Obviously, going through school, getting into the tech world, and then also obviously we heard how you made the transition, but a little bit more of your background.
Yeah, so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It kind of runs in the family. My dad, my grandfather, great-grandfather. It was always the direction I wanted to head from childhood. And so I went to school. I studied entrepreneurship and information systems.
I was very upset about. Like,
Why?
who's going to hire you if you study entrepreneurship? You don't just go into business by yourself. And I went
Can't
into business
learn to
by
be an
myself.
entrepreneur, right?
Right at 22, but I somehow didn't think it's possible, even though I did it. So I was kind of like your father. Yeah, maybe they are alike.
And I went to work at a variety of tech startups. That was kind of my thing.
What was those, like very, very vaguely, what was those startups? Just
Small companies, one in the projector space, like display technology space, one in early mobile app development, and then in payments and in fitness. So different sectors, but all tech. And I kind of worked in both marketing and product management and skirted those lines. In many of those companies, they were as small as, 7 people. So you're kind of just doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So it was very similar to kind of joining you guys, and you come in and you do whatever needs to be done. It doesn't matter what you were hired to do. You get the job
that's how
done.
I feel at my new
You're the
company.
custodian. Yeah, you're custodian.
Right.
You sweep everything up. That needs to be swept up.
We could be getting pastries for a board meeting one day, and you could be presenting at the board meeting later. It's like,
That's right.
doesn't matter.
But didn't I just see you set the table? Yeah.
And so I was doing that, and then I switched jobs. I was at my last job for a really short time. It was a bad position. I was stuck between 2 people that were fighting, and I was just really fed up, and kind of timing worked out to make the jump. And moving from Boston back to New York was a big ordeal. And then ironically, the first person we hired was a remote employee,
right.
which is pretty funny.
Were you against that?
No.
No. Right.
But you had to be convinced.
Yeah, but also his job was very, very specific. He was the lead manager.
The first person we hired was our lead manager. Once we started doing direct to seller, we needed someone to talk to these people and set up appointments. And
you were looking for somebody local.
yeah, we posted a job, in office. We had an in office position at our office in Amityville, and this guy from Missouri applies. Like, where's this coming from? It's clearly in office. And we look at the resume, and it's a perfect fit. He was doing this job for another investor who ended up bringing the position
California.
from remote to in-house. And he was looking to do the same thing. And we're like, well, he knows more about this role than we do. We've never done it before. And we hired him, and he's been with us for
Still with you guys?
6 years, still with us.
We have unbelievable.
Very good retention.
I've employed hundreds of people in my career,
Hundreds, wow.
and he's high for the top. There's probably the top 2, maybe 3 people I'd put in the category of him out of a few hundred.
But it's a family business, like with us,
I
and
know.
everyone is in
It's
the
a family.
family.
Yeah.
It's
But it's our family, not your family.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm not a Wagner. I'm sorry.
so it's a really good environment. Everyone who's there really enjoys it.
Yeah.
We hear all the time that it's their favorite job they've ever had, and it's an honor to be in a position to have a company like that.
That is so special. It really is, especially that it's your family business. But like even right now, like I got hired with this new company, and I've been with my old company for 12 years, and they were great. Both my last company was incredible. I was with them for 12 years, but now I'm with this new company. Oh my God, I'm like living a dream.
Mm-hmm.
These people I'm working for are utterly incredible. They're based out of Albany, and they're these sweet people, and it's just everybody's looking to. We're all trying to go for the same goal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really, and I've only been there 2 months, but I already feel it. I feel at home.
Yeah.
And it's really good when you find that I ultimately landed the job of my dreams, that I am now in this incredible position, and I love going to work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I get excited to go to work. I get excited to get on the phone and talk to these guys. What do we got? What's the plan? Where can I be? Where can I solve the problems here? Okay, you have these problems. Let me take care of that for you. and it's appreciated, and I see immediately that I've been doing stuff, and I get immediately a response. Thanks, Stan. Thank you. And it's just like, wow.
Right.
And that's very tough. That is so hard to find anywhere, because most companies and me, when I was working with my previous company, there was nothing wrong with my company. We were a consulting company, but we get hired by general contractors.
Right.
Some general contractors, fantastic. They're doing great. They got the safety person's back. But other ones, like, do me a favor, stay in your office and do not come out of here. We don't want to hear a peep out of you.
Right.
So it's great that you have this incredible environment. So how many employees would you roughly say you guys have?
There's
9 of us?
Yeah, 9 of us in total. In New York? Well, I'm not in New York.
There's 3 of us in New York.
There's 3 of us in New York.
Where are you, Ben? Where are you?
I've been all
He's
over.
on your couch. He's on your couch.
We hung out last September in Sicily, which I think was the furthest official Long Island real estate meetup.
Oh, yes. I do all my board meetings in Sicily now. So I want to mention something about Sicily and everything. I literally have been inviting my friends and friends to Sicily all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm going to be in Sicily for 1 month. I let it go a month at a time. Ben knows. And I hop on I was networking at the RIA meeting. I'm like, Ben, let me call Ben. I want to get to know Ben. Me and Ben hopped on a call. I'm like, Ben, where are you? Where were you at that time?
I don't know, Albania or something.
Right.
Not in New York.
Right, not New York.
So me and Ben hit it off, like well over an hour conversation. And I'm like, where are you traveling? Oh, we're going to go here. We're going to go here. I'm like, oh, I just said to him, like, if you're in Sicily, come see me. He goes, okay. I'm like,
I think I said, careful what you wish for.
yes,
Because
yes,
I may
you did.
take you up on that.
You were the only person in my life that actually took up that offer.
Right.
And
We had met once before that.
we met at one of your events, Leave the Key event. It was for Nicole Cooper. It was a flip.
Oh, yeah, at her house.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
In Massapequa, around the corner from you.
oh
Yep.
yeah. And yeah, and me and Ben had this incredible time together. I was what we love, and I think he noticed. Like we love hosting. We love hosting. We love and I told Ben I'll pick him up and all this stuff. He's like, really? You don't have to do all that again? I'm like, nah, you're in Sicily, man. This is
He
how we
likes
do it.
driving crazy over there.
Oh yeah. Oh listen, I did screw up a few times. I did go off the road. You don't like? Is your Prius still in the driveway?
No, it's stopped running. So I'm done with the Prius now. I got my grandpa's old car, old Camry, but I don't really drive very much. I don't really spend a lot of time here right now.
No.
What is your next location?
So I'm going to Albania in a couple weeks.
No big deal.
Again.
But for context, started traveling about 16 months ago. I think we've spent about 14 of those months out of the country. Well, and 1 month in Puerto Rico, depending on how you. And
Country.
You're living the dream remote job. That's all I'm hearing.
yeah, so we've hit 16 different countries in the past 16 months. And yeah, my role is totally remote, as we were talking about. Once we got rid of the office, I don't go to the houses. Whether I'm in New York City
Didn't matter where you were.
or on Long Island, it doesn't make a difference if I'm
Right.
not going to the house.
So I was out to dinner with Ben and
Marielle.
I'm sorry. She's going to kill me now. Marielle. We're out to dinner in Sicily, and I never met you. Oh, I'm sorry. I did meet you, but in these RIA meetings, I was like, I look at Ben, and I'm like, I see your father on camera, and I just see him like,
Right.
what the hell is this guy doing? What is this guy doing? And he goes, oh, he's making toys. I said, what? He's making toys. I said, for who? What? What's going on here with the toys? And he's like, no, he has a whole entire workshop. He makes all these toys. Why don't you elaborate a little bit on the toys a little bit?
It keeps my hands busy, gives my mind a chance to relax. I work a 90-hour work week, so I'm always going. So when I go make these toys, it's this repetitive kind of motion. You don't take a lot of thought. So I make hundreds of toys a year, and I donate them to charities.
So speaking of that, I think this is a fantastic segue to kind of dive into. While we were at dinner, Alexa, my wife, her 2 aunts, Ellen and Chrissy, run this organization called the Backyard Players and Friends. And Alexa had this incredible idea, because you were telling me that you didn't know where to donate them, right? You didn't know what
I was
to.
donating to Toys for Tots, and then when COVID hit, they stopped taking toys. I've been donating to multiple charities across Long Island, but I'm open to many more.
And you were looking, I think at the time you were looking for
was.
more charities to work with,
I've been
especially local
increasing
charities.
my production. So yes.
So Alexa immediately got in contact with her aunts, and I guess they connected you
Ellen
two.
did,
Like,
yeah.
and so can you elaborate? Like, how did that whole experience go?
So Ellen called me up. We chatted for a while. She loved the idea of putting handmade toys into her program and into her mother's program because her mother
Love Nana.
which her mother's incredible in her 80s, working 7 days a week, making packages for single mothers of newborns and young children. And she has a whole storefront filled with washing machines and dryers and the box of donated clothing and goods and so on. And she wants to put a book, a book, and a toy in every one. And she wasn't having the toy component. And I have these toys that I make. I give to senior citizens who paint many of them. So while I'm technically a senior citizen, I don't consider myself one.
What age do you feel that you are?
I feel like I'm 40.
That's a good number.
Just not yet. It keeps moving older and over.
Yeah, I keep getting further from reality. So it was interesting. This middle-aged guy who makes these toys for these senior citizens to paint, and that's what I'm calling myself, middle-aged. For this, because I plan on living to be 134. So the middle-aged guy makes them for senior citizens to paint to give them to other middle-aged people who are in charity, so they can give them to young people and children. So it's like every generation of every iteration is getting involved in these toys, which I like. And so the idea is that they work with learning disabled adults. Yeah. So I'm going to give them some toys that they can start painting, because this way it becomes an activity for them. They have their own storefront, which they sell items made by people with disabilities.
Yeah.
So I don't have disabilities, thank God. Well, at least not physical ones. So anyway, so I'm going to make them, and the adults are going to paint them, put them in the store, which is very cool. And I'm going to give Nana toys to put into her bag.
Nana toys.
Nana
oh
toys.
My God.
So, and I just, through my Long Island Woodworkers group, we started a toy group. They've all these, call them splinter groups, these subgroups within the group. And I'm trying to get people to come to my shop. And I just had a session last night to help me
Where
make
is
the
this
toys.
shop, by the way?
I built a house-sized structure in my backyard.
By the way, it's literally another house behind his house.
Yeah, it's a whole house. With permits and COs and everything else.
But no bathroom.
But no bathroom. No bathroom is allowed, and I have no bathroom.
Check the foil.
No, yeah, check the foil, which is very frustrating on the bad weather, having to run back into the house.
So
but anyway.
you have this shop
So I have
localized.
this shop. My shop's on the first floor, my office on the second floor. So, it's a beautiful shop, a 600-foot shop, and I have all the tools, and I designed it to make toys. As much as I like to make furniture and stuff, that's my background, I really designed it to make toys.
What fulfillment do you have behind that?
It's funny you ask. I asked my rabbi a question about what I was doing. I said, Rabbi, I have a question. I make all these toys, and that year I donated 555 toys. I said, I make all these toys, and I donate them, and I really enjoy making them. If I enjoy making them, is it really charitable? My rabbi, who's a very conservative kind of guy, says, you're an idiot, or something like that, which is so out of character. It was so, I think he was trying to punctuate his point. And
did he actually call you an idiot?
Yeah, he said, you're an idiot, or well, that's stupid or something, but in tongue in cheek. And it was so not like him. And I said, what? And he says, you're supposed to like doing charitable things. Charity doesn't have to be miserable.
No.
You're allowed to enjoy that
fun.
activity.
You can have fun.
Not just have just the personal satisfaction, but enjoy the process. I said, okay, thank you, Rabbi. So thank you, Rabbi.
Did you get clarity?
Now everything's fine. He gave me clarity. I was allowed to enjoy myself and consider it charity. It was so funny. I'm very hard on myself. That was the classic example. But I lost sight of your question specifically.
Because we went into your rabbi that insulted you.
It was insulted me.
Do you have so making these toys and
what
doing
I
this,
get out of it?
Is this a level for do you feel also like you're obligated to do this because of maybe the way your life is set up and that you have a great life set up for you?
Funny, I always say my life has been charmed. Everything in my life has has been really good for me. My life has fallen into place beautifully. And I don't want to go into every single thing in my life that's gone wonderfully, but It's a very long list. So the old term paying it forward, I think I'm paying it in arrears. I now don't like the word paying it forward. I've already had the good stuff. Now I'm paying. It's like I'm paying for stuff I already have. So, but doing this makes me feel good because I felt when I sold my cabinet shop, that God was angry with me because He gave me a talent and I'm not using my talent. And by getting back into woodworking, I'm doing something that we all have God-given abilities. And I'm doing something with the ability I have. Not unique to me, but something that I have. So I feel good doing that. And I feel wonderfully because I know they go into little kids who I make toys for toddlers and less.
And like these toys that you're building, by the way, they're they're real toys. Like I'm gonna flat out, all the toys that I have for my kids, they're plastic and they're great. Like they're fine. It does the job, but there's nothing like holding a piece of craft. Somebody crafted this, just like this. You know, my grandfather made this right here, and I love it. I love that it's an icon of like, and I love that it's an icon like just the weight and everything and. It's real. Yeah, it's real. It's somebody spent the time, and it's not a machine snapping things together, and then the machine paints it, and now you have created this also an environment that is so great for you, and now you're benefiting the backyard players and friends, and love Nana. Oh man, like they. When I heard you guys connected, we were very emotional about it. My wife was very emotional. The whole family is, because that family is so incredible. Their father that passed away, oh my God. You know, I came into that family, I'm an outsider. But that family, Nana and Papa, they knew everything about me. And they are a massive family. They're a massive family. And I'm going to say on the record, I don't know everybody's name, but they are a massive family and they're incredible. But with them having all these kids and grandkids, everybody, this whole big circle of all these people, those two individuals, Nana and Papa, knew everything about me. The father would go up to me and he's like, "Oh, how's your job in Brooklyn on Gold Street?" I'm like, how do you remember that? Like I feel like I'm a fly. Like I'm on the side. At the time I was a girlfriend. I'm the boyfriend for my wife. Like why would you spend? But that's the kind of level. Right. That's the kind of level they're at, and what they do is just so incredible. And we were so happy to make that connection. And what great thing, you hang out in Sicily and. We had to say, what's going on with your father over there? What's going on with your father over there?
But you guys were great hosts, by the way. You and your family, your parents.
Thank you. What was your favorite thing?
In Sicily? Well, I mean, you guys took us to some great cannolis. Or we had some great cannolis in Sicily.
Oh, man. Wow. Well, I feel like we have covered such incredible ground. I really want to say thank you to the both of you. Ben, I know you and me, we like to message back and forth, and will you sell me a house? When you ever going to sell me a house?
One day, if your offer is good enough.
Okay, fine. I just want to be a Wagner. But again, thank you, Ben, Larry. I want to give you a moment to kind of plug yourselves back into there to kind of facilitate your business and maybe even, I don't know. I'll let you start first, Ben.
Well, if you want to reach out to us, we're on Instagram and Facebook, social media at Leave the Key, or leavethekey.com. If anyone has a house to sell or, is looking for help in real estate, getting involved, we're happy to help and speak with anyone. And we do a lot of, especially Larry over here, does a lot of...
You call your father Larry?
Well, in context. It's very weird, actually.
Yeah. Oh, when I worked with my father, so I call him Papa. I called him my whole life. Right. I know we're signing off, but we have to real quick talk about it. So we're in the construction field, construction office. Papa, my dad's like, no, stop that, Frank, and don't kiss me because because we're Italian, we kiss hello. He's like, don't. But now it's just like, I go visit my dad on his job sites now, and we just kiss and hug and say, we don't care. But it's just so funny.
I never know what to call him.
I always called my father in front of our clients. I just called him Dad. I think people want to know you're in a family business. They like it.
They love
So,
it. I love
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
I love it. And Larry, let's hear your finishing statement.
Ben gave you all the contact information, so I won't repeat that. Plus, you know it better than I do anyway. But the one thing we do that I think I pride myself on, I pride us on as a company, is that we really work with people to help them solve problems. We don't just buy houses. There's so many people. The first thing I say to people, I don't want to be a square peg in a round hole. I don't want to sit there and try to fit myself into buying your house if I'm not the right buyer. Let's see what your situation is, and let's see if we're the right people. If not, let's find the right people for you or help you or work you through a problem. And that's what we do. The house becomes buying a house becomes secondary. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I take great pride. Our whole company works that way. They know from the top down, that's the mantra. You're there to help, and then you're there to buy a house in that order. So.
I kind of want to put this plug in. You didn't even mention anything about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't you host a podcast?
We do. Since I'm on it, you can talk about the podcast.
My dad hosts a podcast.
Right. But I'll let him talk about it.
Okay. Well, come on. Promote the podcast.
Yeah.
So he hosts a podcast called Unlocking Senior Resources by Leave the Key, where he interviews people working in the senior industry and working with seniors in different capacities, whether it's things like Medicaid planning or senior transition or helping people find assisted living or home senior living setup that's the best for them.
Also, the reason we do this is Ben, as a birthday present, set up this podcast for me because he knows I like to give back. I've always worked with seniors my whole life. And the year before that, he put together something for my birthday, and that is you put together a website helping people go through probate in New York. And we have it's like a 26 chapter or something probate course they can sign up for and whatnot, all for free as well. And where do they find that?
That's at probate.leavethekey.com.
Probate.leavethekey.com.
Yeah.
And that's also a free giveaway. Always trying to give back. So to
Yeah,
little
clearly.
children or to seniors.
We found a
levels.
lot of people that we were speaking with were going through probate, and it's a confusing process,
Yes.
and hopefully something that you don't have to do too many times.
And alone. We try to help.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it was,
you guys fill in those gaps. Really, really do, and make these process for people that really are clueless and really. And I know you guys are doing it. You're guiding them in the right direction and giving the correct and appropriate offers to them that they will be taken care of. You know.
Most of the calls from the probate site have nothing to do with buying a house. They just have questions about probate.
There you go.
And we're happy to take the calls. That's what we're there for.
Yeah,
we offer to help and we're there to help.
and then we'll connect them with an estate attorney or
Right.
a clean out company, whatever they're looking for.
Well, guys, one more time, thank you so much to the both of you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
Guys, that is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment if you got any great value out of this. I am going to put down both their information in the bio so you can reach out to them, and we'll see you next time.